You Be the Judge. We are on every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Coming to you live and broadcasting live here on our station studios. We have three co hosts. I'm Dr. Paul Dyer. We have Judge Claudia Barber and Marylin Pierre, who is running for judge. Can we just say Judge Marylin Pierre, or do we get in trouble? Or do you get in trouble if you call it, but if I call it, it's speaking to the existence?
Well, if you call it, it seems like I still get in trouble. So we have decided
No.
to say judge to be.
Okay.
So
Judge to be, because we know any black woman who's running to be a judge gets in trouble. I have the FBI was calling me for how do you know Claudia Barber, and when did you meet her, and I get all these FBI calls. It's ridiculous, and our civilization, I don't know how we are always vetted all the time. We are
all the time.
We are constantly being vetted.
Even Serena Williams speaks to that when she says that she's tested as an athlete for drugs quite frequently.
More frequently than any other athlete that we know of to date. She's been tested more than anyone.
They want to start something. They want to start something.
It just can't be talent.
It
just can't be talent. It just can't be, she worked hard. Oh, no, not working hard.
She must be on steroids to be at the top of her game or something that, there's got to be something, negative about her wins.
Well, I'm about to say something negative about her dress at the Oscars. I was like, oh my gosh, I thought she and Venus were Jehovah's Witnesses. I couldn't believe it. I don't know if you guys saw what they were wearing.
But they also have a fashion line.
But did you guys see what they were wearing?
Yeah, I
did not.
I did.
Oh, I wonder if there's a picture, because, oh my God, I was like, wow, King Richard must be like, this is not, what I signed up for when I worked so hard to get you guys to where you are now.
I have a problem with it completely on all the fashion, on the modern day fashion. I have something to say about that, and it has nothing to do with age. It has nothing to do with how I feel about it. I think there's sensual, there's sexuality, there's all kinds of things like that. But I think maybe they're selling their fashion line. I'm sure those were her clothes. I doubt she'd be wearing someone else's clothes since she has a fashion line. But since now that we have, let's go back to being vetted. I want to really tackle that, because we're a black host of a show that talks about a lot of things, and that's why we call it You Be the Judge. You being attorneys and judges, but there's something that we have an opinion, and you decide with the information, the understanding, and the action. Has anyone other than black people, if you want to chime into the show, call into the show, or put into the show, that you seem like you're always being questioned about your credentials or your validation of who you are? It just seems like it's a constant measure when it comes to whoever is of dark skin. I find that it happens in my life. Marylin Pierre, soon to be judge. Marylin?
Oh, constantly. Happens constantly. And it's a constant of having to prove yourself over and over again. Every time you meet someone, it's okay, I have to do it over and over again. And it's really, really draining. I find it interesting because I actually share office space with this marvelous, wonderful man. He looks like, well, the way I describe him is he looks like, oh gosh, what's the actor's name? Tracy, not Dick Tracy. But anyway, he's a tall, good-looking man who I guess would identify as Caucasian.
Okay.
And no matter which office, this is our second office together. And in both offices, my name has always been on top because I'm like that. And so, but if someone walks into the office, even if they come in to see me, they assume I'm his secretary. And one of them even asked me to get him coffee one day and was perturbed when I said no. But they have never, ever, ever made the assumption that he is my secretary and he is to get coffee for whoever my clients are, who are coming to see me. Yeah, so it drains you, it drains your spirit, it drains your soul. Like I said, it's not him, it's them, but it happens so often that you just,
Well, I often also can bring into the discussion the Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson confirmation hearings. And now she is, for the most part, at the top of her game in the sense that she is Harvard. So even if, there's some side discussion that, well, if you do the right thing and you pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you go to this school and that school, you can have it all. Now, wait a minute. If she went to Harvard undergrad, the top of the law, top of the ladder, undergraduate and law school, see, that's not enough for them. They're still going to complain. There are still people out there with words in their mouth that she's not qualified. And I see it all in these commentaries in news articles like Newsbreak. There are dozens of, people that that really are out there, that are putting out this false narrative that she's not qualified, because they don't want her to be qualified. So even if she went to Harvard and she is a judge, and she's been a judge for 9 years, and she's been a trial judge, and she's on an appellate court, that's not enough. You're still not qualified.
No, Judge Claudia,
they don't want her.
I got a text from my brother. Some of you may have seen it, but it compares Jackson with the other Supreme Court justices.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would like to share it for a minute with those who haven't, because it backs up what you're saying.
do you want to share screen?
Yes,
Okay.
just
Okay, go ahead.
Well, yes, and at the end of the
Okay.
day, see, all of this side discussion about her not being qualified is just deplorable. But not only is it
I don't know
deplorable,
if I can get it up anymore.
that's the one I've seen too. Yes.
Yeah, just seeing
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
what she's against all of the other Supreme Court justices. In her column, everything is yellow, but just seeing public high school, Ivy League, law school, Supreme Court clerk, public defender, sentencing commission, district judge, and court of appeals. Now, when you look at all the other ones, it seems to me, why are they even doing these hearings? That's the way I feel.
Right. That's exactly right. Or why is it that all of these others had less qualifications than she does?
Yeah.
And, and then you still got somebody making some comment, she's not qualified. She's not qualified. It's all about the nitty gritty stuff, in the opinions, they've got to pick out one opinion or two opinions and brand her or label her in a certain negative way. How Senator Ted Cruz articulated his, because she's on the board of directors of Georgetown Day School, and that particular day school has critical race theory books inside the school building. That's her fault. And that's, and trying to tie in the fact that the board probably has something to do with the curriculum. And she said it doesn't. But see, that's not enough. So, but I'm convinced that you would never be qualified for some people, regardless.
Absolutely.
So go ahead.
I watch your program every morning by a man named Charles Blow. He's an amazing commentator. And one of the things he said is that 25% of the elected Republicans in Congress identify directly as QAnon believers.
Oh,
So,
right,
so
right.
these are a different breed. I mean, I mentioned at my synagogue we should be having a day of repentance for anybody with light skin to apologize for the affront that they were causing so many of us. But they're QAnon believers. And I was up at my farm last couple of days, came back, stopped at the local newspaper, the Fulton County News, and they're puzzled by their neighbors who are QAnon believers, who of course believe that Nancy Pelosi, Schifrin, and Biden are eating white Christian babies in the basement of Comet Pizzeria. I'm assuming everyone knows this.
Yeah.
So their fixation on pedophilia, of all things, these are not sane people when we think of sanity. They're not in our world. And Cruz is an example. Cruz started off okay, but once he got ensnared into that web, it's like he's not in our world.
I actually think what's happening, and I am going to cheer Trump for this. He uncovered what people have been wanting to show for decades. He uncovered, he said, come on out, don't be afraid, we got this. He cheered this on. And so I think that people now are opening up their closets, so to speak, and they're allowing their true colors to be shown. And I think it's shocking for white America. I think it's shocking to them where we, as Black America, and I hate to separate Americas, but there is a separation. With Black America, we have had an idea, we have had some scuttle, we have had some, not even conspiracy, but we heard from someone who was part of their chauffeur or part of their, the thing about Black America, we listen, right? Because we serve your foods, right? We wait on your tables. We serve your drinks. We carry your bags. We make sure you get to where you got to go. And you're talking around us like we're non-humans. But those conversations gets passed on between father to friend to sister to the rest of the community. It has been going on forever. And I think white America knows it. I think politicians know it. They just think that, well, who cares if they know? They can't do anything anyway. So it really doesn't matter if my butler knows.
They're powerless.
They're
powerless.
powerless. So what my butler knows what I do. So what my security guard knows what I do without my wife. So what I'm in a hotel. Who cares? They can't do anything because to the rest of the population kind of agrees with it. And I think now we're being sickened by it. And I think hopefully we're speaking out about it.
Holly?
I just think, while I agree with you that Donald Trump brought this out, there's no excuse or praise for him because he just brought out that you could be selfish, you could be thinking about no one else except yourself, and it just condoned the bad behavior that we've seen. It's just, there's no excuse for it, really.
And it's out of control. That's the problem.
Once you unleash
Yep.
that, it is out of
Yes.
control. And
Yes.
let me just say one of the good things. Did you all see who started Georgetown Day School? That was one of the benefits that I saw in this. It was started by 6 families, 3 Black families and 3 Jewish families who didn't want their children to go to segregated schools in 1945.
I remember that.
What a story is that?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's where Jamie Raskin went to school. Yeah. So there
I
you
didn't
have
know
it.
that.
I mean,
Yeah, and Ted Cruz lied about that book when he said Ibram Kenzie's book teaches that babies are born racist. That was an outright lie. That's not what the book teaches.
doubt that he read it. He just,
He probably didn't. You know, he comes up with his own, you know, his own stories like the rest of them.
yeah.
They
Well,
are
he
dangerous
also-
people.
He also accused the 1619 Project of being Marxist. I heard that in his
Yeah,
speech
and
too.
that's something he made up as well. Some people that
Right.
he knows were Marxists, and he claims they were supporting that. It's all a figment of his imagination, but they're doing this, and they're dangerous to our society. And if we don't stop and do something about it, you know, we're all going to have serious problems on our hands.
Well,
Cory Booker said they haven't yet called you a communist, but they will.
And he knows that. He knows that's at the tip of their tongue.
Right.
He knows that's at the tip of
Martin
their.
Luther King.
well,
Yeah.
you know, here's the thing. When you know Langston Hughes, when he went over to Europe and he identified as a communist, and people have to understand the definition of communism,
Yeah.
imperialism, and these words used and why it was used and how it was used and what their reference was from. The 1619 Project has been deemed as a Marxist because of the ideology of how it links to the idea of Marxism, of understanding your history. That doesn't make it a Marxist. But when people don't know your history, if you don't read your books, if you don't know your information, you can be skewed to misunderstand representation of words. And this is how they weaponize words. And I refuse to always weaponize a word, but people do it so easily because very few verify or understand their misunderstanding of how they understand it, if that makes sense.
Or they do it for political reasons, to gain momentum in whatever political effort there. For example, weaponizing words like calling Lonnie Guinier a quota queen. I mean, that is just, trying to smear somebody's name and spreading a lot of misinterpreted and misinformation. Now, I recently was looking at the Bethesda, what is this called? The Bethesda Beat. They did an article back in November of 2019 where the Montgomery County passes sweeping racial equity bill. I don't know if you all remember that. And the council president had worked on the legislation for more than a year. And it was unanimously passed, a wide-ranging racial equity bill. And it was mandating equity impact statements for all new bills and budget measures. And it will also require county offices to submit plans for reducing inequality and create a new office of racial equity and social justice within the executive branch. Now, my concern is that if you have the 14th Amendment on the books,
See?
Why is this necessary?
That you're making. Thank you, Judge
Exactly.
Claudia Barber. Thank you.
Exactly.
No, you're right. You know, can I quickly add how much I appreciated what Dr. Paul said about thanking Trump? I know that it might sound counterintuitive to non-Black people, but sometimes we want people to reveal themselves. And I heard from someone that this is a different type of Republican Party.
Oh,
I'm sorry, no, this has existed. This conservatism in this country and Judge Barber has said this before, it reflects the conflation of racism and capitalism that has had a horrific impact on this country. And in pursuit of profit, too many people coddled conservatives. And this is why we are here now. Too many white Democrats identify more with white Republicans than non-white Democrats.
it's true.
Do not see our common interest in having a less harsh capitalist system that invests in the long term as opposed to focusing on short-term gain for the few. And we are seeing the chickens coming home to roost, as our ancestor Malcolm X said.
Specifically.
Specifically. And
Well,
so I would hope, I don't want to go on a diatribe, I'm sorry, because thank you guys again. I can't thank you enough for organizing these calls. And so thank you, Marylin, for introducing me to your friends. I'm so grateful. But what I'm hoping is that this will wake up the Democrats so that we can have truth and reconciliation. And we have precedents for that in other countries. And we have not done this. We have not acknowledged the genocide and the crimes against humanity upon which this nation was founded. And hopefully this will open our collective eyes to what we need.
I know someone, I don't know who was going to speak, but I actually want to piggyback on what Bernadette says. I don't actually want to wake up a Democrat. I don't want to wake up a Republican.
Or anyone.
I want to wake up people, right?
Exactly. People of goodwill.
Yeah, people of humanity, people of service, people of love, people of compassion. Not, you know, she talked about when we making money and that doesn't wake anyone up. Actually, it hurts people and it kills people. But when you wake up people with compassion and people with love and people with kindness and people who want to serve the human race and not of an agenda, those are the people I hope we wake up. I hope they wake up and question not me, not what I say, but what you think and how you are acting on your thoughts and how you're proceeding on your actions. Am I acting in the compassionate way of kindness, of love, of humanity, not selfishness and not making money? There's a difference. There is a, and if you don't know the difference, you better ask somebody, right? You better raise your hand and ask the damn question. Who was going to speak? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'd like to just follow up about this Montgomery County sweeping racial equity bill and the fact that it was designed to have mandates of racial equity training for all county employees and establishing an advisory committee with 7 county representatives and 8 public members. And the whole purpose was to dismantle institutionalized racism. Now, what that tells me is that you already know, you acknowledge and you know that racism exists. Now, that is to me an indication that that the courts are not in line and in sync with eradicating racism. They're not. That means that, you know, all of these cases that are going through the system that are being dismissed, they're just enabling institutionalized racism and perpetuating it and keeping it going and going and going and going and going. It's legalized discrimination.
Judge Claudia, Barber, and all you attorneys on this thing, how can people circumvent the 14th Amendment so easily? I am often confused. The 14th Amendment's easy to be circumvented, and the 15th Amendment, it's shredded. The 15th Amendment, it is gone. Marylin, you want to pull up the 15th Amendment? You want to pull up the 15th Amendment and then read it? Because I don't think people understand what the hell the 15th Amendment is and how much it is not even there anymore. So I'm confused.
Well, here's the point. The fact of the matter is that really it's the people. Ooh. It is the people and the will of the people, because for the most part, you have basically reduced the 14th Amendment to be just words on paper. And all you're doing is passing law after law after law after law after law that, you know, you need a racial equity bill. Why?
Why?
Because people are not paying attention to the 14th Amendment. They're violating. Let me go that far. They are violating the 14th Amendment and you know, with no remorse.
This
Well,
lynching,
they say that the 14th Amendment, in those amendments, there's no enforcement clauses in those amendments
See?
as to how they could be violated. And when they passed those amendments, then they had they had troops in there to enforce
Enforce it.
those. But when they pulled the troops
The
out,
troops left is all gone.
that was it. You know, so it doesn't have enforcement, and even the laws that are being passed, what are the enforcements behind those laws
Exactly.
that are now
Exactly.
being passed?
And that's why legalized discrimination and that's why legalized racism exists.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Right.
why it exists. So
Yeah.
Marylin, you put it in the chat, the 15th Amendment, the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude.
Mhm.
That's the 15th Amendment.
so once they pull that away, and they have, and they've shredded that. Now the 14th about ready to fall, right? Just like you said, there's no jurisprudence about giving the defending it.
But I blame that on judges too. Not entirely, but I blame a lot of that squarely on judges. If you don't want to uphold the 14th Amendment and call out race discrimination in employment, age discrimination in employment, as rampant as it is, and just give these corporations and entities a free pass to continue the behavior unabashedly, you're no help either. You're just adding, you know, you're part of the systemic discrimination. You're part of the problem. I'll just go that far.
I would just like to ask Judge Claudia or whoever, when they did Brown against the Board of Education, and then they wrote in with all deliberate speed, what was that? If they had to desegregate the schools and then put that clause in there with all deliberate speed, you know, and that just made it just linger on where you had towns that shut down rather than integrate, you know, so that with all deliberate speed, I was just trying to understand that clause in the rule.
To me, if you are a strict follow rule of law person, all deliberate speed means instantly you change what you're doing instantly. Not in 1960, not 1967, not 1966, but instantly. In 1954, integration should have been across the board in this country after that May 1954 decision. I mean, what's hard about that? What's hard to understand about that? You know, the Little Rock, Arkansas, the Little Rock 9 incident, that was about a year after the Brown decision. And you have history here in this state and other nearby states where they really didn't get to integrating the schools, and they still don't want to do it fully. But they didn't.
Well, now they integrate them, and they just ship the black kids off to the prisons after they arrest them. Mike, you were going to say something?
Well, I guess I wanted to say I'm glad. What makes me want to come back to my farm to be on this program? We're all a bunch of true believers here. I mean, especially looking at you, Dr. Dyer, and you, Judge Baker. We believe in the system. I mean, those Congress people, they should be welcoming her with open arms. Forget about her qualifications. Her qualifications are way beyond any of those that the Republicans rushed in.
What did Earl Warren have? What did Earl Warren have? What
is far superior, you know, but the very fact that there are no black women, and, you know, I was hoping someone more militant, but she's qualified beyond qualifications.
Fatima,
and it just blows. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mike. Hold on. Fatima, who is running, you first let us know what you're running for. I want you to come out of your own mouth. And I'm so glad you come on the show. You've been on our show before, but you also have a question, or you're just clapping? Which one?
Let Mike finish with his thought, and then.
Okay.
Well, it's the first time this happened in a while. I'm just embarrassed that they are white. And even though as a Jew, I'm usually, historically at least, I'm disqualified from, that's why that school was started, because, the impossibility of the racism and the white skin privilege and everything else. This is such a screwed up country where it's nice to be with people who are true believers. That's all I wanted to say, that the system really does work or could work. They don't believe that. And that's why tears rolled out of my eyes when I watched Cory Booker, who I did not realize was a Talmudic scholar. I didn't realize he studied for the past 30 years with a group of rabbis, and that some of that thinking came out of the rabbinic study that he's been engaged in for 30 years.
His speech was so necessary.
It was.
It really was.
It was healing.
It's sad that to me, it hurts that it's sad that it was necessary. That's what hurts me. But Fatima?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Dyer. Hello, everyone. So I am so happy to be here with you guys again. So my name is Fatima Taberi. I am running for Montgomery County Council for the new Council District 5, which is the East County. All of the East County is small part of the Four Corners and all of Leisure World, and I think Aspen Hill and Lay Hill. So that's the new District 5 that was carved out and created. It's supposed to give a Black plurality in the county. I think it's the one. And then they created a Hispanic or Latino plurality in District 6. So they have those two. But really part of my, when I watched the questioning, because I'm not sure I'll call it a confirmation hearing per se, the questioning of the most qualified woman to be nominated to that bench, it sort of, for me as a Black woman who's an attorney and I have locks, I watched it and I saw it, and a part of me knew it was going to happen, but it's a different thing when you sit there and watch the disrespect, because that hearing was disrespectful in every way you can think of it. It was extremely disrespectful, and it had nothing to do with confirmation hearing. It was a way to send out the dog whistles. It was a way to say, this is where we stand on this issue, and to speak to the base, to the base of their base, to say, this is where we stand on this, and you need to make sure that we come back the next time you go and vote, and to show themselves as they are, because now it's easier to do it than it was before. After the Trump years and during the Trump years, the Band-Aid was taken off the scabs, and now it's here. It's not that it was never there, it was there. It's just now it's easier for people to say and do what they want to, because it's now becoming more acceptable. And watching that and seeing it unfold, and before I watched it, I was at a rally where you had all these women, Black women, women of color, white women. You have all this support of women coming out in a rally in front of the Supreme Court, the steps of the Supreme Court. It was such an amazing feeling. And then you watch the confirmation hearings.
It's a hard
and you're like, oh, my goodness, seriously, people, you have nothing to say about her. So you grab onto something that you think will make your base of base feel like a reason to hate her. You have nothing. And all that tells you is it doesn't matter. Like I've told people several times, it doesn't matter. Like as a Black person, you are told on a consistent basis, you have to do 10 times as much for you to get half of what they got. And that's just the reality. And this showed you that even if you did, even if you do, it doesn't matter.
So
it will still come after you.
Fatima, we had before you came on, and before a couple of people came on, we had talked about. This is a direct personal question. Do you always feel like you have to validate yourself of who you are because that you're a Black person and you're a woman, or is it always seems like you have to continue to push your credentials up there so people take you more seriously? Does it seem that way for you? And I said earlier, it has always seemed that way for me. And I know Judge Barber has said that, and then Marylin Pierre also said that. What about for you, the rest of you?
You know, I would say to a certain degree, yes, but this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to change the narrative, right? I'm trying to change the narrative because that is the reality of our world. But in my own little corner of the world, I don't even hardly ever put my ESQ after my name. You know, people started having me put it now because I'm out there and so on and so forth. So, okay, it's there but I literally don't even have my UF law degree on the wall because you need to see me like I see you as a human being and respect me as a human being and my ability to have a conversation with you. I don't need to have my degrees all over the walls. Okay, I don't need to keep validating myself on a consistent basis. And so in my own little way, I'm trying to change the narrative wherein it becomes a normal thing. The same way I sort of, on a consistent basis, I talk about my faith because there was always this shadow about being a Muslim in this country for the longest time, especially after 9/11. But I celebrate my faith and I make it public. I don't hide it. I don't pretend. I may not necessarily be the quote unquote face of a Muslim woman because I have the locks, I'm a Black woman, so on and so forth. And I have my long nails with colors, the whole shebang. But I present it and I make you see it, right? And because it needs to be the norm. We shouldn't have to, on a consistent basis, explain who we are and validate who we are as a people, as a person. It needs to be accepted the same way everyone else is accepted.
Because the back end to that is, you know who we're trying to push our validation to? It's not to one of us. It's not to the Black community. It's always to the white community. So I think we're perpetuating our own self-demise by keep saying that we have to. And I think Bernadette's right. I think we have to just stop, unless, obviously you get asked and of course you got to send this and prove this depending on where you go and how you go about it. But ultimately, you're right. I shouldn't have to prove anything to anyone. This is who I am. This is what I've done and things like that. And it's also sad that what Judge Jackson went through didn't get any airtime or any media time or social media time, but the slapping of Will Smith and Chris Rock is rolling like a high tidal wave. That also confuses me about the social system or the construct we're living in. I'm confused.
Well, that's Dyer. That one I'll have to say, we are also to blame because a lot of what's out there with the Will Smith and Chris Rock situation, we are pushing it. We are talking about it. We keep reposting and having these conversations. If we were doing the same thing, which some of us did with Justice, because I've been calling her Justice, Justice Jackson, from the day she was nominated. She is our justice and she is going to be our justice. Some of us were pushing her on a consistent basis. Every day we posted about her. And that's what you have to do. If everyone who's pushing the Chris Rock, Will Smith stuff did the same thing with Justice Jackson, we will have the same push.
I agree.
So part of it is we have to be the ones to elevate ourselves and each other to ensure that we keep staying elevated. Like we can't forever wait on other people to elevate us, and that's one of the reasons why I did a show called Celebrating Our Roots, the influence or contributions of Black American and Black immigrants in Montgomery County. Because if we don't elevate ourselves, if we don't talk about what we have done and brought into this county, into the state, into this country, nobody else is going to do it. Look at the fight right now and on teaching basic American history because it includes Black people. I mean,
Yes.
Go ahead, Bernadette.
No, well, first of all, I was going to say, I appreciate so much of what Fatoumata is saying, specifically on not accepting the paradigm. So I think we need to, as people of African descent in the United States, we need to stop centering the white gaze, the white American gaze. And everyone of goodwill, as Dr. Paul has said, we need to pursue our authentic selves without having to prove anything to anyone. And there are going to be challenges because there are going to be maybe some short-term losses that some people might have to experience in the pursuit of their authentic voices. But one maybe part of the journey is understanding that there's a certain price that you're willing to pay for being authentic and wanting this country to fulfill its promise. So Fatoumata, I particularly appreciate you saying you practice your faith openly and talk about it openly. That is your authentic self. And I have personally, in answer to some of your questions, Dr. Paul, about how individuals experience having to prove yourself, my hope is that I will follow what Fatoumata does in terms of, I don't have to put a JD behind my name.
Right.
You all don't know what schools I've gone to. You might not know.
I know.
I could tell you, but you don't. But you all might not know. Marylin knows.
And they wouldn't believe it either because you're so modest.
But I think that what Fatoumata is saying is that eventually authenticity resonates with a greater number of people. And that is my hope, because personally in my life, me trying to be authentic, Afrocentric, proud of my Haitian roots, married to a Muslim, and I converted to Islam, that has made some people uncomfortable in my career because they expected me to be a certain way because of the schools that I went to. And I did not necessarily comply with that. But I know that because there are fora like this, I hope that and because of social media, we're having many more opportunities to be our authentic selves in the hope of impacting policy that helps us all. That's my hope. And then just one last thing about people having to prove themselves. I volunteer for one of my alma maters, I'll say Princeton. I interview candidates for Princeton for Montgomery County. And almost without exception, all of the high school students of color, specifically of African descent, whether they're African American or the children of African immigrants, who are in gifted and talented and magnet schools, tell me the racism they face from their white teachers, even when they are in the magnet programs and the gifted and talented track.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And that the only time they have come to feel support is when they come across that one African-American teacher that they've had for the first time in their education in Montgomery County in the gifted and talented program. And I make sure to put this every time in my interview reports, because people think Montgomery County is liberal.
It's not.
And it's like, it goes back to the points that we've made before, that if you do everything right, you will be rewarded. But no, they do everything right. Some of them have engaged in Herculean efforts to get into gifted and talented, and yet they are discouraged, specifically, they tell me, by their white teachers.
Here's the thing, you know, Mike Tabor has openly and honestly expressed how he feels as a man, as a white man, as a Jewish man. He has outwardly expressed at his synagogue at his meetings and his prayer group. We don't have enough of Mike Tabors in our world. We don't have enough of Mike Tabors in Montgomery County. We don't have enough of Mike Tabors in Maryland, and that's a problem for us who are Black Americans, who are African Americans. It's a problem because if people like Mike Tabors don't openly open their mouth, I don't care how, you know what? I don't care how you feel about us and how much you love us and care for us. But if you don't open your damn mouth, you're still hurting us. You're still putting us up on the lynching block. You're still killing us. You're still causing us to be persecuted if you don't open your mouth. And I'm not talking about quietly voting. I'm talking about opening your mouth, going to the school board and speak on someone's behalf that you don't even know, but you know what's going on.
You know what's going on.
You know what's going on.
In addition to that, you have situations, though, just like we had the guest come in to talk about the Bethesda Cemetery and all of the opposition that she experienced there. You know, the important thing about that fight in particular is that the system was designed to shush her, and the system was designed to believe that she would not be able to fight that thing out financially with lawyers to file a lawsuit and get a ruling in her favor. So that also is part of the problem. The systemic problems are deep, and they're often identified in the fact that they hope you run out of money. They hope you are not in a position where you can challenge what they're doing to changing voting laws in violation of the Voting Rights Act. They hope that you run out of money and you're not able to challenge a close election. They hope you run out of money so that when the redistricting maps are done, you know, you can't afford to file another lawsuit. Where are you gonna get the money to file the lawsuit? They hope you drop off.
I'm good. How are you?
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I did want to, you've made my head swell a little bit, Dr. Dyer, but I want to know, because I'm in a negative place right now, especially whenever I come back from the area I farm, because it's so bewildering. The racism, the anger, the rage, the state of mind. But I wanted to know, is Fatmata still on?
She is.
I don't see her.
She is. She's
Are you
still
there,
on.
Fatmata? I
She's
just
still
wanted
on.
to see.
I'm here. I'm here, Mike.
Have you seen anything that gives you signs of hope, specifically from that world of white skin privilege, repression, anger, the need to disembody people of color on behalf of the white community? Do you see any hope?
Being here and being in the community that I'm in and in the world of activism and social activism, I would say yes, right? And the reason why I would say yes is because I have worked and continue to work with a myriad of groups and organizations that have all faces of people, all walks of life. Here I am, a Muslim woman, just endorsed by Jews United for Justice. Okay? And I mean, like, and it's an organization that's focused on social and racial justice issues, right? And, you know, for many years, I've worked with them and others where we've gone to like the Unitarian Church up the street on Colesville, University Boulevard, rallying for Black lives, and you look and it's a sea of white faces. Okay? And there are a few of us there who are Black. So yeah, there's hope. And I have several girlfriends, white girlfriends, who openly say they understand their privilege, they've discovered it, and they want to do something. But like one of them said to me, she's like, it's a learning process. I'm still unpacking it. I'm still trying to get there fully. I'm not there yet fully. But she's honest. You know what I mean? So I do see hope for a better future, but it's one of those things where it has to be consistent. We can't take a step back. We can't get lulled into a false sense of security, because I think that happened when Obama was elected, and people thought, oh, we have arrived. No, we have not even close. And so we're right back. We're still in the same place. I remember, it was that Dyer that asked, it just clicked, that asked, what was it? I think we had an Instagram thing or something where he asked a question about, I think it was you. We're always saying that we are arriving, or we need to arrive, or something to that effect. And why do we keep saying that? And simple, right? Because nothing has really changed as much as we think it has. Right. And the reason being that we get a little bit and we stop and say, whoa, we have gotten it, we're there. And then we just sort of sit back. And we know in life, in anything, it has to be consistency. The same way you teach kids in school is the same way life is. All of us, we remember when you're in school, right? If you have algebra 1, you finish algebra 1 in 9th grade, you get to algebra 2 in the 2nd grade, you still do parts of algebra 1 in the 10th grade, and you get to algebra, and back up and up and up. You get a trig. You're still gonna learn part of what you learned in the previous grade, and that's just how we have to keep doing it. Consistency, and keep always fighting for it, because otherwise we will lose it. But yeah, all that long-winded stuff, you can tell I'm an attorney and a politician. To say, yes, I see hope, and I am praying that we stay on track with this hope, and we don't not let anybody take us backwards. And like, what's his name? Cory Booker said, do not allow anyone to take away our joy, because there's joy in so much that's happening around here. And I look forward to it. I look forward to working with so many wonderful people here in Montgomery County to make the necessary change and not allow ourselves to be taken back in time.
I want people to, I know if people don't know, and we don't say it enough, if you want to send money to Marylin Pierre, it's Marylin Pierre for Judge. Is that .com? It's just Marylin Pierre for Judge, right? .com?
Yes, .com.
Right. Send money. And then Fatima, how do they send money to your campaign? Because we need money for you to win.
Yes, we do. So FatimaTaberry.com. I will put a donation link in the chat if anybody wants to. It's always needed because we have to get to the voters, and there's so much to do on the council. So as somebody said, we're not as left or progressive as we think we are. Oh yes, Judge Claudia said that. We're not as progressive and as we think we are, and you can see it in the council.
You want to talk about the event that you're having tomorrow?
Oh, yeah.
Fatmata?
Yeah, so I'm having a 20th anniversary celebration tomorrow at Jewel of India. So I've known the owner and his wife for many years. Before, I like to joke around and say before they left me in East County and moved out uptown. So they're hosting my 20th anniversary since I've been in White Oak tomorrow at Jewel of India from 6 to 8. And I would love to see you guys come, hang out with me, have some fun, have some appetizers, and get a few drinks.
I know there was a question that popped up, and I don't get to see but I think it was Erica asked, how can we make a difference, or how can we keep pushing forward? I think it was something like that. I think the question is do something. And there's so many. Fatima's doing her thing tomorrow, and I know Judge Claudia Barber's got things to. We do please, and if you don't have a clue, if you have friends, text me, inbox me. I got stuff for you to do. I got stuff all over Maryland that we can get you to do, to join someone to do something that pushes what you call a unity front forward of humanity. I'm not into this party or that party. I'm not. I'm into the human race, and I believe in the human race. But we definitely have to work on building the human race. Otherwise, the others take over. And whatever your others are, they're there.
They are.
So very quickly, somebody, iPhone, I can't tell the name. Who is iPhone?
We don't know. It's just an iPhone. What you have a question about, Fatmata?
No, I think you're trying to talk to me. I am a special ed attorney. Yeah, I am a special ed attorney, and I can see your chat, so I think she was trying to figure out a way to say something.
Oh, you mean a direct message is it directed to you? Is it Michelle Minor?
It's to everyone. So I just wanted her to know that I've seen the message, and that yes, I am the special ed attorney, and yeah, but I don't know your name, so I'm sorry. I can't like.
Well, we have to, again, stay focused and pay attention to the people that are running and learn as much as we can. So we're grateful for the guests that do come on and enlighten us. Because we had a state equity meeting this Monday, and we had a firecracker of a delegate on, Dr. Dyer.
Yeah.
And, oh my goodness. He was very inspiring. All the things we need to do to bring us up to date on the Police Accountability Board situations.
In Montgomery County, yeah. And Marylin, you want to tell us who we had? Because he's like your son.
Guillaume?
Yeah.
What do you want to know about him?
No, that we had him on the show. We had how he gave us an up-to-date on what he was doing in the House and in the bills.
He's a delegate.
He's a delegate. He's a delegate.
No.
Acevero.
Acevero.
Oh, Gabe. Oh my God. Oh, sorry. That's why I was like, no. For those of you who don't know, there is a statewide meeting called Equity in Media that happens every Monday at 9:00 in the morning. And last Monday, we had Delegate Gabe Acevero, who is from District 39, as our guest. And how many of you here know Gabe? Like, could you give me an indication? Okay, of course, of course, Mike, you know Gabe. And if you have ever seen Gabe speak, he speaks with such passion, and the love of his community just seeps through. He is just such a young, eloquent, he's a young, eloquent young man, and he is just absolutely fabulous. And he has all these ideas, and he has all these bills that he's sponsoring, and he wants to see a better world for us in the future. He is just absolutely fabulous. And
that's who you want as your representative.
That's who you want. Somebody who's
they're already on fire.
That's what I call him. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we're about ready to close down the show. Thank everyone for coming to You Be the Judge. Go ahead, Marilyn.
Before you close that, I want to say that I am. There are two events that I want to talk about. I'm having an event on Sunday I'm going to be a speaker at an event on Sunday, and I would like to invite all of you to it. I'll send you an email about that. And also, I have the judicial forum that I'm participating in on Tuesday, April 5th, 7:30 a.m. I would really appreciate it if you could show up for that as well and support me. Thank you very much. Dr. Dyer.
That's it. Please support each other, support one another, and care for another, care, compassion, and kindness. That's what we hope for, that's what we shoot for, and that's what we work to do. Thank everyone for listening to You Be the Judge. We're here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Join us. join us live and just replay it and visit us here on Dr. Paul Dyer or Dakota Dragon Defense YouTube channel, and you'll see the show. Thank you, everyone. Have a blessed night. Be kind, compassionate.
Thank you, everyone.
I'd like